Baristanet is a local website based in Montclair, and it covers 3 communities. I started it 5 years ago as of an online-only blog news source. It kind of is a combination of a newspaper and something lighter, something more blog-like. It has basically thrived over the last 5 years. We make money. We get about 9,000 visits daily, and we have a very active community and a lot of interaction. We put up at least 5 posts a day on weekdays, sometimes 7, 8 posts, and people are like waiting for the new posts and immediately start chiming in with their comments.
The Montclair Times is New Jersey's largest weekly newspaper that covers one town. Our entire reason for existence is to cover Montclair. I've often said Montclair isn't the center of our universe, it's our entire universe. However, within Montclair, because we have such a fascinating town, the second biggest university in New Jersey is located in Montclair. We have residents from all over the world. We have every possible religion and no religion located in Montclair. We use Montclair as a stepping off point to then cover international issues. When Bhutto was assassinated in Pakistan, we could interview, Pakistani expatriates. We can cover national and international stories out of both Montclair State and also about, corporate executives who live in Montclair, people who commute every morning to Wall Street or to corporate headquarters in Manhattan. So it's a wonderful opportunity for a weekly newspaper to really come up with New York Times type focuses. Okay. Not to say we're at the level of the New York Times, but certainly I would want us to be, and I would certainly want us to focus on some of the same subjects that any big, good daily newspaper focuses on.
I think that my sense was that the community newspapers were boring. I mean, they're just simply boring. Not that they weren't good journalism, although some of them aren't. But often, I live in Glen Ridge specifically, and the Glen Ridge paper tended to have very young reporters, very inexperienced reporters. Sometimes, and this is sometimes, I'm talking about generations ago, years ago, 10 years ago, where you would read a lead and just, it'd be, like 450 words in one paragraph, and you would have no idea what was going on. But that wasn't it. It was just that this gray newspaper would come every week, and it would be dull, and it did not capture the feeling of living in this town. And I had gotten into blogging. Basically, I'd written a column for the New York Times for the Jersey section, and it was sort of like an Anna Quinlan kind of a, life in the 30s kind of column, just what it was like to live there. And the New York Times gave my column to somebody else, and so as a birthday present, my husband gave me a URL. And DebbieGalant.com, and that led me into personal blogging. And it was only after a couple months of doing that that I met Jeff Jarvis, and he was talking a mile a minute and talked about this idea of hyperlocal blogging and hyperlocal journalism, and the idea just really clicked in my head. I felt like just for me it would be a fun thing to do. I'd been freelancing for years and years. I saw that you could be vulnerable as a freelancer, but I'd rather be a publisher. My father had been a newsletter publisher in Washington, so I felt, okay, I have some publishing blood in me. Let's just try this. So it was just it was not, what it feels like now, like an attempt to revolutionize media or the newspaper industry. It was just, like starting a new magazine or something like that.
Baristanet's skill is getting press releases and people throughout the community who email or text message breaking news to people who sit in front of computers, the founders and I'm not sure they get paid much or anything, but employees of Baristanet who really have corralled people years ago who were really starting out in texting and blogging and posting and emailing messages. And so they get things that we may not hear about because they do have dozens and dozens of people, maybe not that many, but they have dozens of people who will email in things as it happens. It's not a threat as far as genuine news. They do no investigative reporting, zero. They do very little meeting coverage. I mean, it's the rare occasion when they actually cover an important planning board or township council or board of education meeting, and we go in depth. We cover, the first tier of meetings, the second tier of meetings, and then what we do is we show how events at the meetings, votes on certain issues, like at a zoning board of adjustment meeting, how it impacts on the 38,000 residents of Montclair. And you make those corollaries, and you call people up, and you do investigative work and come out with award-winning articles. So I don't feel that they're a threat in that sense. They're a threat in the context of people's attention spans diminishing to the point where all they want to do is see some potentially unconfirmed 3 lines or 4 lines presented, or just some unadulterated press release that Baristanet gets, that we get, the Montclair Times, but they just present it as the end-all and maybe one phone call, and we use it as a platform and then go into hours of research and many interviews.
A lot of it is passing on information as it comes in. Case in point, swine flu. 5 new cases found in the Montclair schools in the last week. 1 in elementary school, 4 in the high school. And the person who sent the tip to us, there was a newsletter on the Montclair school's website, and it said something like a quote from the principal and from the superintendent saying, "There will be no repercussions or penalties or punishment if a kid stays out of school because they have the swine flu." And so I wrote a post saying, do the ill usually get punished at Montclair High School? And I just simply linked to, now of course I wasn't stealing from newspapers, just linking to the original source, the Montclair website. Got a lot of fascinating responses from people, from my readers, some of whom said, explain the absence policy, some of whom were furious about it, had really been, really had been punished for being sick, and so forth and so on. Now, a traditional journalist would have taken the same tip, would have gone to the schools, interviewed the superintendent, interviewed the high school, attempted somehow to find a whole bunch of representative parents to get their, and students, to get their input on. But they wouldn't have actually gotten it nearly as efficiently or as widespread a response from parents as just having printed on the website.